First of all, my grandparents are from Palermo, Sicily. I'm all Sicilian. I'm third generation or second generation. My parents grew up in Brooklyn. Where I grew up was a very interesting, eclectic group. Most of the people were rich and Jewish, and I was the only poor Sicilian. And I met my wife when I was 12. She's Jewish, I'm Sicilian. They were very rich, I was very poor. So in 1981, I got married, and I was making $3,000 a month working in a hospital. And my wife's American Express bill was $15,000 for clothing. And she was very close to her family, didn't want to move. And I needed to change. I needed to change my environment. I needed to get out of the hospital business. I needed to make the money on my own because nobody would give me any. And I took my brother and we moved to Venice Beach, California with $200 worth of nail polish and lipstick. So basically, I had a great advantage from being from New York because I was always hustling. I was always used to working hard. So that's how I got to California. I started with nail polish and cosmetics just by luck. And I realized that the cosmetic business was a lot of competition. Companies have been doing it for hundreds of years. The incredible part about the nail business was it was really just starting in the early 80s or late 70s. And what I looked at is that it's easier to make a lot of money in a new industry than it is in an established industry. So obviously, as everybody always asks me, was it luck? There's always 5% luck and fate and 95% perspiration. Because at that time there was 30 or 40 people starting and probably 95% of them are broke. People ask me, why India? I remember 25 years ago, someone gave me a magazine from Bollywood, and I think the cover had fallen off. And I swore that those were Italian people. And the draw for me, being Sicilian, especially with women, is I like dark hair. And I saw in that magazine a lot of similarity between Italians. And of course, you know, not being cliche, but the biggest draw for India is 1.4 billion people. It's an incredible market. The hardest part was working the first 7 or 10 years without taking any money because I had to build my inventory. The hardest part was doing things for the future and not trying to take the short money. The hardest part was building a big company and having to put all my money back into it and doing without things. Every part of my business, when I went from $1 million to $5 million, it took 2 years to get above $5 million because I had to change what I was doing. Probably the most important thing, or the hardest thing, was to be able to bring good people. 30 years ago, I gave 5% of my company to my marketing director, Christina Yan. And then I gave 5% of my company to my warehouse manager. And it turns out it was probably the best decision I made because without those two people, I wouldn't be able to be here today. I mean, right now in America, there's 200 women working and my partner is watching them. My other partner is with my biggest account, Sally Beauty Supply, that does $20 million a year. The biggest quality I look for people is honesty. Being Sicilian, I can deal with anything or anybody who's honest. So when I'm looking for people, the first thing I look for is quality, their integrity. I cannot take anybody who lies because then I can't trust you again. First thing I look for is honesty. The next thing I look for is somebody who's hungry or somebody who really wants to be successful. I really believe that really successful people all over the world all have something wrong with them because they go so far to the right to do what they want or to be successful, and that's what it takes to do it. So I look for people that have drive. I look for people who want to be successful, and then I can teach them the rest. If you're honest, and if you're not lazy, and if you really want to make it, then I can do great. The biggest milestones in my journey were my ego. Getting over your own ego is one of the hardest things, was one of the hardest things for me and for a lot of people. Most people don't understand the brain, that sometimes your ego works against you. And what happened to me is the first 10 or 15 years, it was all about me proving how great I was. And I had to change that emphasis. The journey has become bringing Stephen on and watching him grow from Wales and watching his success and getting him to the next level. Watching Jacqueline. You know, there's an old saying, you're only as good as your people. I think someone needs to really explain that to everybody. If somebody would explain it to me earlier, I probably would have did a lot better, because at the end of the day, my ego is so big or so out of whack that I believed it was really me. First of all, the difficulty was flying coach and putting all those miles on myself. The difficulties were that every country has a different culture and a different problem. And when you look at the different continents, there are similarities, but each country is different. And the difficulties are that every country and every distributor, when you first start, has the same excuses. Everybody thinks that their country is different, which they are. But what they don't understand is that I wrote the book on nails. I invented half of this stuff. And the fortunate part for me is women are basically the same all over the world. One of the other hardest parts is some of my people call me BOC, Banker Cuccio. I'm one of the only companies that finances my distributors in 150 countries. And I give them terms. There's a lot of countries in South America and Central America where you can't get a loan for a car. Most people don't understand this. But if you go to Honduras or you go to Brazil, you can't even get a car loan, no less a credit card. These are really third or fourth world countries, and I have to finance those people. One of the greatest pleasures I'm having is watching my distributors become millionaires. The next step for me is to grow the country, grow the world, and watch the distributors reach their dreams. And I've probably made 20 millionaires out of my distributors globally. And I think my next goal is to make 50 millionaires. And obviously, if you look at the projection from that, if I make 25 more millionaires, then I make a lot more money. The Middle East, we're just getting started in. I just made a deal with a consultant. Her name is Maria Moles. She's out of Dubai. I've never been to the Middle East. Middle East is going to be a very, very interesting region in the next 5 years of growth. You just said something that I didn't realize. The only thing that you see of these women are their eyes and their hands. Obviously, we know that they have money. Obviously, we know they're beautiful. Obviously, we know they have nice clothes under there. Obviously, we know that they're very classy. Interesting that their hands are going to be as important as their eyes. And I never really thought of that. That's a great point. I'm going to use that. We think that the Middle East is going to be an incredible region for the whole beauty business in the next 5 years.